funny thing is the Rangers are such a mess right now that even if the Penguins were to beat them here in New York tonight, there'd be any number of people who'd rightly say, well, yeah, but it was just the Rangers. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning from New York. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Penguins. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or baseball, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Pirates that I hope you'll check out. Penguins versus Rangers is a 7:30, 8 p.m. face-off at Madison Square Garden. I am, of course, here to cover that for DK Pittsburgh Sports. I'm looking forward to a possible fifth win in a row, in part because it would represent a sixth loss in 7 games for the New York guys, for a 55-win team last season that finished atop the Metro. Now, their problems are their problems. They're not my concern. They're probably not your concern. But what I am interested in seeing here tonight is if the Penguins can make yet another step. It feels like through this strange, almost uncomfortable 4-game winning streak that they've had, that there's something that goes wrong or stays wrong throughout a given game, even when it's a blowout like Calgary. Even when there's a big lead against the Stanley Cup champs. Why? Because the Panthers came roaring back and scored 3 times to tie. Even when everything goes right with the skaters, because then the goaltending isn't good, or vice versa. This was Erik Karlsson yesterday in Cranberry before the team boarded his charter flight to come here.
It's been very up and down, I think. Obviously, I don't think that we've reached the potential that we were hoping for right from the start. It's been a tough go, and myself included, and everybody in here. I think lately, obviously, we played some better hockey, and we've been winning some games, which helps a lot of aspects in your individual game and your team game. So hopefully, we can keep that going and build on some good stuff to make ourselves feel like we can play like the hockey players that we know that we are.
See, I like that last part right there. I like that line about being the players that we know we are. That gets you somewhere in that environment, in that locker room. Because when you're in there, and I don't mean as someone like me, I mean as someone like, one of the other players or even the younger players. When you're in there and you look around from stall to stall and you see a Karlsson, you see a Chris Letang, you see Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, you're not thinking to yourself, no matter what the standings show, this is a team that really stinks. It's impossible to do that in there, no matter what they've done. So feeding on that, building on that, that's a good way to go. As long as those players, and this of course is where Karlsson and Letang in particular come in of late, are doing the best that they can. And if you ask me, what's happened more than anything else, what's been the most single influential factor in this 4-game winning streak, however legit or not you might happen to believe that it is, has been that these guys have been close to their best selves. These guys, specifically Karlsson and Letang. Remember earlier in the season when we were all singing about the supporting cast and how you were getting goals out of the third and fourth lines and so forth? Well, that's not really all that common anymore, is it? Not since Lars Eller has been gone. Drew O'Connor hasn't scored in the equivalent of a quarter of a season. It's been mostly the top 2 forward lines, and it's been mostly the top defensemen who've gotten this done. Well, guess what? That's how things have operated in Penguins hockey land for only about 4 decades. That's a place where they're comfortable. It can't be just Sid. It can't be just Gino. It's got to be all of those main guys. That's the way this roster is still constructed. And if the supporting cast guys believe that the main guys are all in and the main guys are all in and they're being their best selves, and you can start seeing more of a team type emphasis on defending and possessing and controlling the puck overall 200 by 85. Now you've got something, provided you get goaltending. But you might have noticed too in that Carlson clip that I played for you, there's a pensiveness there too. He's not ready to make any sort of big pronunciations either. They need to see more from themselves to believe. And this would be a good place, this place right here, to take another significant stride in that regard. When we come back, J1Q. This episode is brought to you by Bet Online, your number one source for all your summer sports needs this season, from Major League Baseball, golf, NHL, NBA playoffs. Get the latest odds and lines, including all team matchups, player props, odds on just about everything that's out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts.
Abandoned ship, Bob. Sell the team. Are you a Pirates fan who is angry or apathetic about our perennial losing baseball team? Do you feel helpless because you don't know how to make a difference? Well, good news. We have something you can do about it. Join our Sell the Team movement. We're a group of passionate fans voicing our frustration and demanding change through billboard campaigns, press outreach, protests, and involvement at local city government meetings. Go to ourteamnothis.com to get involved.
Today's J1Q comes from Rich, and he says, DK, I watch Wilkes-Barre Scranton's games as often as I can. The one player out of all their guys who I think is going to make the biggest impact at the NHL will not be Rutger McGroarty. It's going to be Tristan Brose, who's been steadily developing his game. He's shown to be versatile. He's a strong skater with solid offensive instincts. He's shown the ability to contribute as a playmaker and a scorer, flashes of creativity and skill. Now, we're not going to see him chasing 40 or 50 goals in the NHL, but if McGroarty could skate like Brose, he'd still be playing in the NHL right now at some level. Rich, first off, I appreciate the change of direction here. We can get stuck a little bit too much on the top level at times when in hockey, more than any other sport, all your next level guys are just sitting right there all on one team, and it can make for some good, easy, convenient analysis like what you just offered. I think a lot of the same things when I see Brose. I'm not going to lie. He fell off my radar like most of these college kids do for me, because they just vanish. You don't see the college games. You don't see what it is that they're doing. There's an occasional statistical update or something. But you could tell in training camp, the way he was carrying himself on and off the ice, that this is someone who's used to accomplishing something when he goes onto the rink. And let me tell you what I mean by that, because that sounds grossly simplistic. There are players who are passengers. There are players who are, well, I'm a prospect and look at me and I've got such and such pedigree and I was drafted here or there or whatever. And then they go out and they run their shifts and they go back to the bench and that's it. I gave my shift. You know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that. It sounds like I'm picking on Sam Poulin, and I don't mean to, because it could be any number of guys. But Poulin's been that way for really since he's been here. This kid, he needs to score. He's out there for the purpose of scoring. And if he's not scoring, he is accomplishing or achieving something else. I like that. I like that a lot. And I feel almost as someone who covers the team, has been covering it for a long time, I almost feel a little bit guilty for not having seen him coming the way he has. But also, in fairness, by every accounting, he got a lot stronger in his time in Denver. He became a lot more responsible, more of a leader in helping that team achieve everything that it did collectively. Now, I'm not ready to declare, Brose versus McGroarty or anything like that. I think a lot of McGroarty. I think a lot of those traits, those positive traits that I'm citing here, apply to him too. I also think that McGroarty is 20 years old and has a lot of work ahead of him. But I'm with you on Brose in terms of his readiness He's certainly closer to the NHL than McGroarty is. He might be closer to the NHL than any forward down there, with all due respect to, whether or not you would consider Emil Bemstrom to still be a prospect. That'd be a little weird for my taste, him being in his mid-20s and having spent significant time in Columbus already. But yeah, he could be one of those guys. And before any of that, you need to get Jesse Puljujärvi back into your regular lineup here, don't you? Maybe that'll happen tonight. I guess we'll find out. Probably not, right? I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Penguins. Again, I'm here in New York to cover Penguins versus Rangers. Make sure you read my coverage on DK Pittsburgh Sports, and we'll have another one of these programs on Monday.